Hello and welcome to the Swinging Christies, the Christie Time podcast about Agatha Christie in the swinging 60s. I'm Mark Aldridge. I'm in a lounge that's playing some quite 60s style music actually. So you may get a little,
I requested it for you.
Yeah, quite soul. I'm enjoying it. So I'm a writer and a historian, and I've written about Agatha Christie in my books about Poirot and Marple, and most exciting of all, our forthcoming book, The Swinging Christies, How Agatha Christie
Conquered the 1960s.
I've written that with somebody. Who have I written it with?
This is the weirdest and longest intro you've ever done. And the thing is,
the music.
You're not even drinking. I am, but you're not.
Coke.
Also, I love that... Oh, no, sorry. I'm Grey Robert Brown.
Yeah.
I'm Grey Robert Brown. Hi. I'm a writer. I'm a Christie fan.
I'm co-writer of the Swinging Christies book.
I'm the co-writer of the Swinging Christies book, and I've got my starting pistol out today because we're talking about where to start when it comes to the Swinging Christies.
Yes.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
I just mimed shooting him with my hand, but in a sort of... friendly way.
Yeah.
And yes, we're recording on location in Agatha Christie's Devon.
We are. We're in Torquay. We
are.
have slightly had to shelter from the wind, which is why there are some
We're
background
indoors,
noises.
taking refuge. I will say, recording this back to back with West Marple, it's funny how much more like brah you are.
Yeah, I know.
West Marple's got this. We talked about it being a bit more, a bit languid, a bit more drilling into the details.
Deliberate choice,
this is our other podcast about
like
Mary Westmacott, by the way. But then the Swinging Christies is kind of, hello.
Yeah, Swinging Christies is to wake you up in the morning, and West Marple is to chill you out before bed.
A lot of people do come up and tell me that they listen to both our podcasts before sleep, though.
Let's not dig too deep.
What do you think it puts them to sleep? Look, so long as they then wind the dial back and re-listen the following morning when awake, because then we get 2 listens on the stats for the price of 1. I'm fine with that.
I was more thinking, I wonder how many of them would come up and say, no, I think I did go to bed with you once. And you're like, oh, yes.
Do you think that's what they mean?
So what are we doing today, Gray?
So, just a little bit of fun. We've picked up some new fans recently.
Swingers.
Some new swingers.
Good, thank you.
Some Westmer fans
that
have maybe come along for the Westmer ride.
Nice.
And are now Westmer swinging.
Let's not push it.
It's getting to the point where I'm not even saying real words
Christie
anymore.
timers.
Some new Christie timers.
Yes.
Some new timers to go with us old timers. I thought it'd be a useful point just to take a bit of stock. Also, we've made, at this point, over 30 episodes of the Swinging Christies. So I thought it'd be good to take stock at this point, both of the podcast as a whole. If you're new, where would be a good jumping on point for you as a new listener, but also where is a good jumping on point if you're relatively new to this part of Christie's career, which is her writing, her plays, her short stories, and her novels, and various films associated with her between 1959 and 1971 is normally where we look at. So
we're going to start with the best episode to start with if you're jumping on afresh.
Where's best to jump on to the podcast if you're new? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the horror episode is really well-rounded.
You've always said that's your favourite.
Yeah.
In the late 50s in particular, there's this movement away from what we might consider to be quite classical tropes of like the scary castle, the ghosts, Frankenstein's monster, Dracula up in his castle on the cliff and all that sort of stuff, all this gothic. But in the late 50s, that starts to change into actually being a bit more, well, what about your neighbour? What about the guy down the road who perhaps is a little bit odd or that you don't really know that much about? What might they be hiding? What secrets are actually out there? So horror becomes more domestic.
And I know that's a lot of my personal bias because it is something I'm particularly interested in. Whereas nobody looks at me and goes, there's someone who knows fashion, I'll go and listen to his podcast episode about it. But horror,
Well,
you would absolutely...
I don't want to say anything. Shout out to fashion historian and friend of the podcast, Amber Butchart,
who will also be speaking in September.
She will, and who you must never go to an event with her because she will just outdress you.
Oh,
She's
my goodness.
just absolutely
Yes.
a vision every time. Yes, sorry, and not your only favourite episode, I should say.
No.
Sorry, there was another that...
There is, so I would say, well, before I say what my actual favourite
Sorry.
is, I would say that rock and roll is a good jumping on point as well. It's a slightly shorter one than many, and it's got the lovely extract from our interview with Matthew about Agatha
Yeah.
Christie listening to the Beatles, and I think, again, it's a nice summary of lots of different things. So
Agatha Christie's reaction to the later Beatles music.
I forget where we were. We were probably at home at Paul Thurrock, and I had the Beatles on, full blast in my study, and my grandmother sort of poked her head around the door and said, "Is that the Beatles?" So I said yes. She said, "Do you mind if I come in and listen to it?" Because I haven't actually.
Also, I clipped a couple of different films within that as well. So yeah, it's quite a dynamic listen, that episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just us wanging on, much as we know you will love that.
I haven't listened to these for a really long time, though, so I wonder if I should go back and re-listen.
I haven't either, but yeah, it's inspiring us to as well.
But my actual favourite episode, which I don't think will ever supersede, is from the archive episode, where we actually went to the Christie archive, the family archive. We looked through stuff, we recorded there. We met lovely Gwynnie, the archive dog.
Because today there's a very special bonus episode because
We are on location.
Yeah.
we have escaped. We've missed our connection. We are off to the Christie Archive Trust.
we're thrilled. This is exciting.
You know, actually, I've been there lots of times, but every time you go, you're finding something new. So I felt that was a really special episode. What about you then, Gray? What would you recommend?
So it's funny. So we see the stats of people. We see you, listeners. We see you coming through and where you come from, and I love it. It's so heartwarming to see the reach and the excitement that people have for the podcast. But it means that we see what really over-indexes, and what really over-indexes is the sex episode, which was the first proper episode we did. It's very long. It's like 90 minutes. It's one of the longest. It is a great episode, but it is, according to the stats, where most people jump on. Now, you may not know this, but we actually did do an introduction episode before that, which we dropped on the same day, which is maybe how some people missed it at the time. But that's only about 20 minutes long, 25. We had such a nice day, didn't we? We recorded it near Poirot's flat in the Barbican.
Yeah.
Recorded it way before everything else. And it was really just us kind of going, what's this going to be about? What are we going to do? What are we pledging, I guess, to find out, and the fun that we're anticipating having.
Hello and welcome to the Swinging Christies, the podcast about Agatha Christie in the swinging 60s. My name's Dr. Mark Aldridge, I'm an associate professor, and I research and write about Agatha Christie a lot, including in my book, Agatha Christie's Poirot, the Greatest Detective in the World.
And I'm Gray Robert Brown. I'm a writer and a Christie fanatic. So when we say the 1960s, you think sex, you think drugs, you think rock and roll, but you probably don't think Agatha Christie. Well, you should, because Christie wrote persistently throughout the 1960s, and much of her writing has much to say about the big topics of the day.
So that's the obvious jumping on point. Is the
So your
introduction.
answer to where to jump onto the podcast is with the introduction episode.
Yeah, because everyone does the sex episode, and there's more. There's more to see.
We have layers.
There's more to hear. We contain multitudes, Dr. Mark Aldridge.
I was just remembering the other day that we've got that on vinyl. Do you remember I had it pressed on vinyl?
Yeah. You got it for us.
I wonder where I put mine, because I know I had to put it somewhere really safe so it didn't get damaged.
Yeah.
So
I've got mine between Pet Shop Boys Please and a beautiful Norwegian single copy of Dancing Queen, which Johnny got for me in a charity shop in like Vienna at some point.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So that's the podcast, but what about the texts? What about the actual things that she wrote?
Yeah, so like I say, we tend to talk about like the swinging texts, don't we? Because it's not just the 60s texts, we peek into the previous and the decade after, so 59 to 70, 71-ish. So of all the texts in that scope, Dr. Mark Aldridge, where would you recommend somebody starts if they want something dark? Because I hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the horror episode was great. It was very appealing to a lot of people. People like that, like Halloween spooky.
When you put this down as some of the things we might want to chat about today, this is one that I changed my mind on the most.
Interesting.
But I've settled, and I won't say the others are because you may well be saying them, but the one I settled on was the one that I found genuinely the most shocking, which is By the Pricking of My Thumbs.
By the Pricking of My Thumbs sees Tommy and Tuppence return to investigate a mystery at a nursing home from 1968.
Which is when you get to the revelation of the killer and their motives and their backstory. That honestly made me feel like you couldn't write that now.
Yeah.
It's such a shock to read that and for it to be just so blatant.
Yeah. And it's it's like a proper monologue at the end.
Yeah.
It's a few pages and it's really, well, that whole climactic scene, which we'll say no more about in fear of spoilers, but that whole scene is incredibly well written, I think. Funny you should say that. I've just written a chapter about the abortion law, 1967, and By the Pricking of My Thumbs. But yeah, there's so much interesting stuff to see. And it is really dark, it's really complex, and it's really emotional and nuanced. And yeah, I love that book. I'm such a proponent of that book. I think it's the best Tommy and Tuppence novel.
Oh, yeah,
by far.
for me.
My instinct was to say The Pale Horse.
The Pale Horse is a standalone novel that explores mysterious goings-on and unexplained deaths at a countryside inn from 1961.
Because
really? That wasn't on my shortlist.
Really?
Yeah.
And maybe this is because I actually had this. I actually had a friend who... I had a friend.
Oh.
It's not just
how
you
envious
anymore,
am I?
Mark. I've got two friends now. You'll have to share. I had a friend who said to me, I've never read a Christie, but listened to our podcast because of just for me, just, you know, as a mate, and then said, where shall I start? And I said, well, if you like something dark, I think start with The Pale Horse. I guess because it's at the start of the decade, it's 1961. It's not quite the first text that we look at, but it feels like if you're going to go on a journey through the swinging text, that maybe that's a good starting point for other reasons just than its kind of darker attributes. But yeah, there's a really horrific element. There are witches.
Yes.
There's
I mean, tonally, it's overtly dark. It's like it's like a horror film.
And it's that urban crime thing as well. The bit set in London. I mean, well, actually, it's both. It's rural, pagan, creepy countryside mystery, but it's also got that urban, modern grittiness almost with the London scenes and the very modern swinging London characters. But yeah, both of those are great places to start.
Well, my other short, originally I put Halloween Party, and then I thought Endless Night, and then I was like, no, of course it's By the Pricking of My Thumbs. But you're
funny.
spoiled for choice if you want something dark.
Well, yeah,
in
and
the 60s.
that's so interesting that Pale Horse didn't even
No.
occur. But you could also justify saying
Third Girl, I think.
Third
Scott.
Girl, yeah.
I mean,
Third Girl is a Poirot novel set in swinging London about a young woman who thinks she may have committed a murder from 1966.
horrendous bits in it.
But also the way it messes with you.
Yes.
It has a darkness to it, doesn't it? There's something coercive and oppressive about the atmosphere of parts of it that's really clever. She's just very dark consistently and very brilliant. Where would you start, Dr. Mark Aldridge? Where should we start if we're with the Swinging Christies texts? If you're a Poirot fan already,
So
Where's
I'm
best to
going
start?
to say, and this won't be a surprise, Halloween Party.
Halloween Party is a Poirot mystery novel in which a girl is drowned while apple bobbing from 1969.
is Halloween Party your answer for
Halloween Party
everything?
is my answer for everything. No, I because actually, way back in the mists of time, about 15 years ago,
Oh, I was in the crib. I wouldn't know.
about with the Tash.
15 years
Yes,
ago.
about 15 years ago, when I was getting back into Agatha Christie. So as I had told the story before, but I was doing various other things, especially in my 20s, when I wasn't particularly paying much attention to Agatha
Partying.
Christie, partying, but enjoying other things and reading other things and stuff. And then I felt the drawback. And Halloween Party was my drawback, was the book that I
Really?
decided. And I did a very interesting thing for me, who isn't a big radio fan, as you know. I listened to the radio adaptation, actually.
I love the
It's
John Moffat.
so
that.
good.
It's really good.
But it just really, I was like, oh wow, this is really good. Like, and being quite surprised that I knew the story, but there are bits of it that I'd not really appreciated before. And a lot of that is about Poirot and the way that he interacts with Ariadne Oliver and interacts with the suspects. And as you know, I love all the stuff with the teenage boys and Poirot. I just think that's so great. It makes you want to cheer, you know, when they're all together. So that would be my choice. What about you for Poirot?
Look, we're at risk of just confirming the stereotypes about
Oh,
our
not the
characters and our
Clocks.
tastes, but I'm going to say the Clocks.
Why?
I think the Clocks is so slept on. I cannot begin to
So
explain.
you'd say let's start with the one that's not as bad as people say.
I don't think it's not as bad as people say. I think it's a great book. I think it's a genuinely brilliant book.
The Clocks is a Poirot novel about espionage and an unidentified body from 1963.
Look, it does what a lot of the Westmacots do, which we've been talking about a lot over on Westmapod recently, which is you can see Christie as the craftsperson, as the writer, cycling through phases of the book. You've got the secretarial bureau stuff, you move on to the more spy thrillery stuff, you move into the interviews, you go to the tower, you move to the London bit with maybe another murder. That's not too much of a spoiler to say. Like, it always keeps my attention because there's just so much going on. And I think I personally think you can have too much of a good thing. And I think the way that it uses Poirot brilliantly and evocatively and gets him completely right but sparingly is a real skill. I also love Miss Marple in The Moving Finger because I think you're clamouring for them. I don't think they need to be in all of it. I think the fact that she holds them back is great. But I mean, if the question is the book where Poirot is his most Poirot, has got to be Adventure of the Christmas Pudding.
The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding and a Selection of Entrees is a collection of early short stories, including the titular The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding or The Theft of the Royal Ruby, rewritten for publication in 1960.
I mean, that's super Poirot.
Yes, you're
down
right.
to refusing to go to the big drafty house unless he knows it's got central heating. You know, like every aspect.
Yes, that's a very
and
good point.
the agency that he has in it, he is very present in that. And indeed in Spanish Chest, the other Poirot story in that collection that we talk about, in a way that he isn't in the Clocks. So if you're really impatient for Poirot, then maybe don't start with the Clocks. But I just think the Clocks is a massively slept-on novel. And do you know what? It was because we both did Tea and Murder podcast. I really did such a deep dive on the Clocks in preparation for recording that episode with Rebecca, in a way that we've never really been able to with the Swinging Christies, because what we did was we did massive deep dives on everything, collated it all, arranged it by theme, disseminated it all, so we never really just talk about one book at a time, and that gave me the chance to really sit with the Clocks and see it's brilliant.
Nice.
You're still unconvinced, but I'll get you one day. Okay, so then, I mean, the obvious follow-up question is, where on earth do you start with the Swinging Christie text if you're already a Miss Marple fan?
So I think it's got to be Bertram's.
At Bertram's Hotel is a Miss Marple novel set in a London hotel which is not quite what it seems, from 1965.
Which is hilariously the book you did for Tea and Murder.
I did, didn't I? I was trying to remember what I'd done. I was thinking, did I do that? Did I do Caribbean?
I remember because
History?
I listened to the episode when I was waiting for something. This is a purpose of nothing. Sorry, listeners, just enjoying a tangent. But actually, people keep telling us how much they love our tangents, so maybe we should do more of them. I don't know. I was waiting for my friend Polly at the Tate Modern, and I put your episode on, and I was loving it, and like, it was still quite early days, and like you mentioned my name, and I was like, oh, and talking about the podcast. We'd only dropped a few episodes at that point. It was really nice. And Polly's like, where are you? I can't see her. I'm like, I'm outside. Anyway, it turns out she was at the other Tate. She was at the Tate Britain. I was at the Tate Modern, and I had the exhibition we were seeing was at the Tate Britain. I was wrong. I kept being like, we're at the Turbine. I'm at the Turbine Hall. She was like, there are no turbines at the Tate Britain. I was like, oh my god. Anyway, but having to then dash across London did mean that I got to finish I listened to the whole episode in one. So you and Rebecca kept me company.
Oh, good. I'm pleased. I just think if you like Miss Marple, it's such a good insight into her psyche, into her thoughts, into her background, but also it's such a non-Miss Marple story in lots of ways. Like, there's a thriller story in there just screaming to get out.
Yeah.
But Miss Marple's going to solve it anyway. And I think seeing her interact with that selection of characters, I'm sympathetic to you saying that she can pop up at the end like a moving finger. Although I think she popped up too far into that book. 14 pages she's in. Give her at least 20, you know?
Well, Mark, there was a war on.
There was
it was
a war
rationing.
on, don't.
We were rationing our appearances
Yeah.
of Miss Marple.
But at Bertram's Hotel, you're getting this proper time with her, seeing what
Yeah.
she's like with everybody, and seeing her in the 60s,
Yeah.
and her acknowledging what the 60s is. So I think there's a really strong case for any of the Miss Marple stories this decade.
Absolutely,
are great for
yeah.
Miss Marple. What did you think?
I was going to say A Caribbean Mystery for a similar reason.
A Caribbean Mystery is a Miss Marple novel about a murder on the fictional island of Saint Honoré from 1964.
It's interesting that we've come to the same conclusion. Essentially, Marple was almost made Marplier by being thrown into sharp relief, by being held up in comparison to the swinging 60s. And I think that the same is true with contrasting her with the Caribbean, with the fictional island of Saint Honoré, where A Caribbean Mystery is set. But also, what's rather beautiful and rather forward-thinking and rather progressive of Christie is that it would be really easy and lazy, and books are still published to this day that are like this, to just to have the thesis be essentially, well, how different they are.
Yeah.
But she's not satisfied with that, because actually Christie goes, well, there are flowers here, and Miss Marple loves flowers, and there are tropical birds, and she's enjoying the scenery, and she maybe doesn't like this or that, but she doesn't mind this, this drink they give her, or, there's an old adage in writing that to really, if you're really trying to write at an idea, write the opposite or write around it. And I think that's a really good example of, to write Miss Marple at her Marpliest, actually to put her somewhere very quote unquote unmarple is maybe a way to do it. And it's a successful experiment, I think.
Some of the people who perhaps resist the temptation, the allure of the swinging 60s Christies.
You mean are they like swinging deniers?
There are.
They don't listen.
Ugh.
Maybe they are listening, but like hate listening.
They hate listen.
Do you ever
yeah.
hate watch a TV show, or hate read a book?
Yeah. Well,
I'll do that. Like if I've met an author and they're rude to me, I hate read
I'm
it.
more likely to do a hate school of their Instagram account actually, because time's too short. But sometimes people don't perhaps get on with them as easily as 30s
With
and
her
40s,
more
50s ones.
slightly experimental or
Because she's doing different
writing
things.
in this decade.
Yeah,
sure.
so if you really like your traditional Agatha Christie's, your, dare I say, Golden Age style ones, what do you reckon? Where you go?
For me, it's a slam dunk. The most obvious down the line, quote unquote, classic Christie in the 60s is The Mirror Crack from Side to Side.
The Mirror Cracks from Side to Side is a Miss Marple novel about a poisoning at a film star's house. It's from 1962.
Because of the St Mary Mead setting, because of Miss Marple's appearance, like that's the one I recommended to my friend from uni, Jess, for example, who is, I think I've spoken about her on the podcast before. I gave her Styles, and I gave her Sittaford Mystery at Christmas, and I gave her Hercule Poirot's Christmas. She read Death on the Nile. So for her, I thought a classic. There's a country house, that kind of, all the trappings for the aesthetic. Surely it's The Mirror Cracked, but maybe you disagree.
Well, I also thought it was a slam dunk for A Caribbean Mystery.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this is why we do the podcast, because of our different opinions.
Yes.
Isn't it wonderful?
It was only after you'd said that, after you put it on a little notes document, and you were like, surely it's The Mirror Cracked. And I was like, oh, that hadn't even crossed my mind. For me, there's something about the structure and the way everybody is together in that hotel setting, and even the fact that it's abroad like that. I know that we don't see Miss Marple abroad any other time, really. But
But it is something
it's
that
such a
Christie
golden
has
age
always
thing.
done. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a genre trope, yeah.
So for me, that is the one that feels most traditional. And I don't know how much of that actually predates all of the Swinging Christies project, which is, and I think I said this way back, maybe in the introduction episode,
Which you should listen to
which
if you haven't
listen
already.
to. But when I was a kid and I had no concept of what came where, A Caribbean Mystery to me was one of the famous classics. And I can't, maybe I just saw it on TV more than once. I don't know, I can't explain it.
Maybe.
But for
Maybe,
me, it
but I
just
think-
was one of the big titles.
And we talked about this when we talked about the titles in the work in progress episode. But there are certain words that just leap out to you on a spine, and
Yeah.
I think Caribbean is one of them. Because I was the same. It was a really early one that I read. I think that's true of for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always had that sort of association, and I know that's not going to be the same for everyone. But
No.
if you go into it with that in mind, it isn't, so unusual compared to Murder in Mesopotamia or
No.
Appointment with Death or.
Well, also, I mean, John Curran calls it the last kind of honest to goodness, properly clued whoDunit,
Yeah.
I think. And whilst I think whilst John
You can
and I,
say the word.
Whilst John and I famously don't always see eye to eye on Christie
Gray
matters,
thinks John Curran's wrong.
I
That's what he
love
wants to
John,
say.
and John loves me. We have something very special. But I think that represents the long-term fan perception of that book, and I think it's true to say that the mechanics of it pretty much work the way that. Well, they do. They work the way that the mechanics of Christie usually work. Plot mechanics, as Kemper and Catherine would say. And that's something, I guess, that is an argument against starting with The Mirror Cracked, which is that a lot of people say it's eminently guessable, which I am on record saying doesn't really bother me. I don't think that stops it being a great gateway into the Swinging Christies text, but maybe that's what makes it on some level feel more classic and more like a go-to to you, Caribbean Mystery.
Yes, very possibly. Yes.
Okay, I just so happen to be sat here with Dr. Mark Aldridge, who's the world-leading expert on the screen adaptations of Agatha Christie. Have you met him? He's a bit of a cad, to be honest. That was cad. I said cad. Anyway, I wonder so of the various films associated with Agatha Christie that came out in our time period, in the Swinging Christie's
Yeah,
timeline.
I haven't seen them.
Which would you recommend starting with? Which is the gateway?
I had a real think about, because it depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Because it's tempting to say Margaret Rutherford or Alphabet Murders for different reasons, but I think it's got to be And Then There Were None, the 1965 And Then There Were None.
Yeah.
Now, the first picture with the who-done-it break. 60 seconds for you to match wits with the world's greatest mystery writer. Play the detective when you see the motion picture with the who-done-it break.
It's, got all that fashion and the young singer, Fabian, and it's just so 60s, and yet very faithful, really. And so I think that is what a lot of people crave, which is that if you're going to update something, don't mess with the actual fundamentals of mechanics, but just make it feel fresher in things like location, direction. And I do think it's a brilliantly directed film, but it's not badly directed.
No.
And it's got that whodunit break, so you've got to watch it with the whodunit break. It's not permissible.
It is a shame it's not in colour.
Yeah, because it should be really, popping,
should be.
shouldn't it?
In a way that I don't mind Murder, She Said being in black and white, but it does feel, especially because then there's Gumner. Which is the Indian, the Bollywood, And Then There Were None, which is released the same year, right? 65 as well, I think. which is so colourful in more ways than one. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there can't be any question of this. I think in terms of like what I would say to my nan, what she would just enjoy on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, it's got to be And Then There Were None. I guess Murder, She Said is a close second, which is a fun film.
I prefer Murder at the Gallup.
The indomitable Miss Marple. The inimitable Agatha Christie. An incomparable combination that signposts murder. Murder at the Gallup.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's funnier.
Because I think you start Murder, She Said, and I know I always say this, but it is that opening, more than anything else that happens in the film. So it's got that brilliant 5-10 minutes at the beginning. So watch that, then skip to Murder at the Gallup and watch a better film.
Have a few drinks and then come back to the back half of Murder, She Said.
But I think they're short films, you can watch them back to back.
But I
treat
think,
yourself.
yeah. To be fair, Murder, She Said does have a sort of saggy middle to end portion. Sounds like I'm being rude about a person, doesn't it? But so does, dare I say, does the source material, 450 from Paddington. I do think 450 from Paddington also starts really perfectly and slightly tails off. And I guess Murder at the Gallup isn't particularly faithful to after the funeral.
I mean, the basics of who did it and what they did are still there.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, any one of those three are great signposts. But I think, there's no question. I think And Then There Were None is just the best gateway drug. Okay, where should you start with the Swinging Christies text if you're going on holiday? If you're looking for one to pack in your suitcase, along with your baked beans.
And travelling cloak.
And your magical invisible
and
cloak.
a passport with someone else's photo in it.
Travel was different in 1970. I'm a Frankfologist. Where to start if you don't understand when Graham references being a Frankfologist?
I mean, I have taken a Caribbean mystery on holiday when I went to the Caribbean.
I would love to read a Caribbean mystery in the Caribbean. Yeah, it's got to be a Caribbean mystery. It's full of sun. It's full of atmosphere.
Yeah. I would say that the best thing to do is to take 2 books with you on holiday, one that you're really familiar with and one that you haven't read for a while.
And both
because
Agatha Christie.
I can feel, both Agatha Christie.
No, actually, one of them should be the Swinging Christies.
Oh, yes, it really should. If you're flying
How Agatha Christie
after, or indeed going wherever you go, after February next year, February 2027, it will be available.
Pre-order now.
But I'm a big believer that it's nice to have a mixture of like comfort reads.
I think you're right.
And something that's new.
Because also, there's nothing worse than, I mean, I've got Kindle for work, so it's not so much of a problem. But if you've only got space for a few books and you take one that you're going out on a limb with, you want to have that trusty old favourite, like a Caribbean mystery as well, so that if you don't get on with your new book, you've got one to fall back on.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a good point.
I do have every Agatha Christie book on my Kindle.
Oh, same, yeah.
So it is nice to be able to just go,
If
I'm going to read a short story.
I'm
going to go and, I'm going to read
I do exactly the same. I'm halfway through the Murder on the Links. Like, not for no reason other than just, I sort of went, I fancy that again.
Yeah, I'm going to read that soon. I've just finished rereading the Sittaford Mystery, which
Oh,
I really enjoyed again. Very
you're out of
underrated.
season. You need to read that when it's all brr.
Yeah.
The one not to take is Passengers to Frankfurt, because if anything will make you fearful about the state of the world
and travel
whilst you're travelling through it,
where will
it's
you
Passengers
end
to
up?
Frankfurt. Because, as we've said many times on the podcast, especially in the Armageddon episode, many of the fears that Christie was evoking and many of the current affairs that Christie was responding to, sadly, just haven't really gone away. They just do continue to be relevant, even to this very day. And you have written here, Bertram's If You Get Homesick.
Yes.
Oh,
I think that's
of
nice.
London.
If you're from London in particular, or Britain, then I think Bertram's will take you back home.
Yeah, it does have some great London atmos, yeah, for sure.
So the final little category.
Yeah, so all this is very well and good for you starting pistols, for you starter swingers, for you new swingers, for you new timers, for you new Christie timers, for you new Westmer Christie Am I
Christie new time.
think I'm malfunctioning?
New Christie time.
But we also know that there are lots of you out there, lovely listeners. Hi, we probably saw half of you at the spring gathering just now. We probably email you or text you or chat to you all the time. Very, very knowledgeable Christie people out there,
Yes.
who we love hearing from and who listen to this podcast. If you already know, you've already read all the novels, or you've already read most of the short stories, or you've already covered most of what there is to cover in your Christie journey. Where do you start then? Where do you start with the Swinging Christies podcast?
Start with my favourite episode, which is from the archive. The great thing about it was that I genuinely think that we contributed to people's knowledge of Agatha Christie.
Yeah,
Like,
so we should say
found
we
new
read,
things.
we literally sort of almost live, like read, digested, responded to, and then recorded about Miss Perry, which is the unproduced stage play in the 60s, and Deathbeat, which is the unproduced musical adaptation of Hickory Dickory Dock. And actually, I was reading Hickory Dickory Dock at the same time, all be having a chat and going through the archive and sort of rummaging. And then when I took myself to bed, I was taking myself to bed with Hickory Dickory Dock. It was just such a well-rounded, amazing experience.
Yeah.
And we really captured that in the episode, I think.
That's our
50
contribution
years
to
or
knowledge.
more than 50 years.
If we've done nothing else for the world of Agatha Christie scholarship.
Yeah, you heard it here first,
You heard
everybody.
it here first.
No, I did a bit of digging afterwards, and I think it's a legitimate.
We talked about Christie's process as well.
Yes, we've got to go through lots of the different draft versions of her.
Yeah,
Stuff
and a lot of that insight has had an impact on the book as well. Really being up close to the material, as you've been for many years. But that was my first time experiencing, just holding a piece of paper in your hand that has Christie's writing on it.
Yeah.
My God, unique insight that we've very generously been afforded by the Christie Archive Trust is there in the book. Please do pre-order the Swinging Christies book, or indeed order it if you're listening to it after the point at which it comes out. We are so proud of it. We were saying earlier, weren't we? Like, we're walking along the seafront at Torquay, and I turned to you and I was like, I think it's really good though.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Like, because you sort of lose sight of it, because
Yes.
we've been in the
Yes.
depths of the shared document
Yes.
for months.
And we're at the point where I'm spending a lot of my time tidying up footnotes.
Yeah, I'm changing
and I
a
love
word
that
and
sort
then
of
changing a
bit,
word
but,
back.
oh.
It's like, yeah,
It means you almost forget what the book's about because
Exactly.
you're getting it technically right.
And we needed that moment, I
Yeah.
think, to go, no, like we did the thing, and it is great. So yeah, we can't wait to share it with you all, and we hope you all read it and love it as much as we've loved writing it. And please do say subscribe to the Swinging Christies podcast. It's ongoing. There'll be more episodes every month, and please do give it a 5-star rating, ideally 5 stars, and a little review, and subscribe to it wherever you get your podcasts.
And do get in touch. You can find us on Instagram at Christie_time. Our Blue Sky is christietime.com, which is also our website. You can email us at christietimepod@gmail.com. Our YouTube is at the Swinging Christies or at Westmorpod if you want to pop across. You can find Gray's website at grayrobbertbrown.wixsite.com/GrayRobbertBrown. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Mark Aldridge and Blue Sky at markaldridge.info, which is also my website address.
Thanks for listening.
Yes.
Thanks for taking a trip down memory lane with
Yes.
us.
Do you
It's been
think that
lovely.
in 5 years, when we say where to start again with it, we'd be like, I would start with our episode about where to start with the Swinging Christies and just be stuck in an endless cycle.
That will be really, really dredging the bottom of the. At that point, it will be like, do the episode we did on the way that Christie writes an F.
Yeah. Or the thickness of paper in the 1960s books.
Look, I'm not ruling anything out. Keep swinging.
Keep swinging.
Thanks for swinging. Boom, and they're off, and they're running, and they're running, and they're running, and they're running. Oh, and Mark Aldridge wins gold for Great Britain.
Yay.
You know, because starting pistol, I'm doing a thing. It's a sports joke, Mark.
Yes.
The Swinging Christies is a Christie Time project by Dr. Mark Aldridge and Gray Robert Brown. This episode was recorded on the 11th of April 2026 in Torquay, in Devon. Our artwork was designed by Bartlett Studio and Tom Double, and our music is by Dar Golan. Anyway, we have an important thing to discuss. Unfinished business.
Yes.
Not an unfinished portrait,
No.
but unfinished business.
Yes.
Because last time we recorded on location, I gave you some drag queen and king names.
Yeah.
Drag monarch names inspired by Agatha Christie, titles, characters, what have you. And I challenged you to come up with some that would crack a smile on my otherwise frowny face.
Yeah, I thought it was just me that got the frowny face, as always.
Well, no, what happened was the wind changed on Torquay Pier. I was planning to only frown at you briefly, and then the wind changed on Torquay Pier, and now I'm stuck like it. Go on, what have you got for us?
So I've got 5 for you.
Ooh.
First 3 are not good. The other 2,
Define not good.
they're stretching a pun.
I see.
And the last 2, I think, are genuinely good. Of these 5, I think we can say 2 without believing
Am I going to have
them.
to... Oh, don't make me get the bleep sound effect
Yeah.
out again. Okay,
Well, let's-
go on. Right, come on.
Okay, first not great one.
Mark, we can't say that. We can't say that.
Okay.
That is good, though.
Okay.
You're going to get cancelled.
The second one,
Mark! the whole bar just went silent. You can't say that. I think you've misunderstood the assignment. The challenge was not to be as dirty as possible.
well, that's why I'm saying the last 2,
Okay.
I think, although one of them, it's got to work anyway.
Okay, go on. Hit
And the
me.
next one of the stretching a point towards Poirot.
I mean, it works.
Yeah. But they're not really names, are they?
Well, that could be a drag king.
Yeah.
That feels drag king to me.
Whereas the other 2, I think, actually are names.
Okay.
Or like you could have them as drag names.
Okay, go on.
The first one is
God. Is it not a good sign when he starts laughing before he's even
No.
told me, is it?
the big.
Mark. I'm going to have to put an explicit tag.
The last one is, I think, the best.
Okay.
Firstly, because it actually works if you're not an Agatha Christie fan,
And it works because it's the only thing I can leave in the
and
episode.
you can leave it in, and it sounds like a proper name.
Okay.
I think the only problem with it is that its influence is slightly obscure, but hey, we are slightly obscure.
You know.
So this is...
In fact, the Radio Times called us niche.
Yes,
Niche but brilliant.
they did, yeah.
So,
Are you ready?
go on.
Strange Jess.
Mark.
That's really good.
Strange Jess.
Yeah, because you could just be Strange Jess.
A kooky queen.
Yeah,
a
kooky
comedy queen.
Exactly.
A cabaret queen.
All of the above.
It's giving Jane Donne.
and it's obviously a play on the Miss Marple short story Strange Jest.
which all of 20 people have read.
Exactly. And they're all listening.
Yeah. Hello to each and every one of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to raise the spectre of Diana Ross, not on such a sunny
No.
and happy day. Long-term listeners will understand. Where to start if you don't get the Swinging Christies repeated jokes about Diana Ross? Well, I think it comes out of the Reflections episode, so start on the Reflections episode. There you go, there's a bonus one for you.